KavaSpills Podcast, episode 16. We are once again in a different set. They keep getting better and better. This set, what do y'all think about this set?
This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We're at GrassRoots downtown, one of my favorite kava bars.
Downtown
St. Pete. Where
Central.
good luck finding parking.
Right? Yeah, we had to circle the block a couple times.
We had to spin the block a couple times. What about you?
Well, there's lots of parking garages too.
What do you do when you go to a kava bar and parking's limited? Like, if you got any tips for the people that need a shell, but the tourists?
Parking space.
I don't know. I guess we should give up our secrets.
No.
How was our week?
Oh my gosh. We're back from our trip. I got to go to Arizona, and that was pretty spectacular.
Sipping in the desert. How'd you like it?
It was amazing. We went to all the 4 kava bars.
Shout them out.
Okay, all four. So we went to Mad Hatter.
Shout out Mad Hatters.
We went to Kava Sutra, and then the other Kava Sutra.
Phoenix and Tempe.
And then Lacuna.
Yeah.
And
bought some art. Actually, you bought this art bag from Arizona. So shout out to Lacuna. You know the artist?
Oh, I forgot.
We'll put him in the post.
She's amazing. But we bought the tray, and then it was the perfect backdrop.
Just worked out. It worked perfect. It's like you knew the set would be nice.
Yep.
What about you, Sloan? Yeah. What about you, Sloan?
Well, my week was very uneventful. I was all alone. I had nobody.
Wait, wasn't this weekend the 4th?
No, that was right before you left.
Right? That was fun.
Yeah, but other than work, the normal that I always say.
Yeah.
Nothing eventful happened because
Nothing eventful.
you guys were gone. So I hung out with Barry a lot.
Shout out to Barry.
Barry, I miss you,
Strong
Barry.
college. All right, so who are we?
I'm Ames here, not driving today.
Sloan.
And I'm Sir Lawrence. So today, this evening is special. I said that for the last episode because that was special too. But this is equally as special because we have what I consider an OG in the kava community. One of the first people that gave me kava. What stuck out about this gentleman is that he was an educator rather than just selling. So he could have just sold me kava, but he educated me on where it came from, what it does.
So you mean he's gonna be able to answer all my questions?
Oh, please don't bombard him with questions. Can you just pace it? Pace it. He might answer your questions just telling the story. But we need no introduction. Mr. Ken from GrassRoots.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Thanks for having me.
First of all, thank you for coming. Backstory, we were chasing after this guy to the point where I thought I was stalking him because I just knew how important this interview was. And I knew that this story hasn't been told, or at least I haven't seen it been told, and St. Pete has, we were looking it up earlier. I don't know.
There's
a lot of kava bars, and a lot of people don't know where it came from. Few people know how it started. Very few people. And I think that's lacking in a lot of kava bars is how we got here, you know. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how did we get to this table here sipping kava?
Well, all right. There's a whole long story.
Yeah.
I'm Ken. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. In '94, I came down to Florida to go to school at Florida Atlantic University. And at FAU, that's where I met my friend who got me into kava, Jeff Goldman. And back in 2001 was when he first introduced me to kava. Yeah, and then he was about to open the place in the beginning of 2002, January. At that time, it was like the big tech bust. The tech industry was in the end of 2001. The economy wasn't great. I lost a job, a lot of different life experiences going on. And I was unemployed, and he was about to open this place. I just finished building the website, and I was like, I was bored, and I was like, would stop by, the place while it was being built, and I was like, what can I do to help out? And just, be a helpful friend. I helped decorate a little bit, and I learned more about kava. And he was like, well, I'm gonna have the soft opening soon. You want to learn how to make kava? And I was like, all right, why not? So
cool.
The first time I made kava, I wasn't even employed. I just volunteered to do it for like the soft and grand opening of the first kava bar in North America.
So how long had he been drinking kava before he introduced it to you?
Not much longer than me. Yeah, maybe a year.
So he was passionate,
or less.
So he was
That
passionate.
early on.
And this was the first kava bar in America.
North America.
All right.
There was one in Hawaii.
Okay.
So, Hawaii, that's where it comes from. So,
Technically,
it's America, and it's always been in America if you
Where
consider.
was it at? Did I miss that?
What's that?
Where was the Knockamal at?
The Knockmall was in Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
Florida for the win.
Yeah. That's why Florida is the heart of the kava bar industry.
Well, I would have loved to taste that first brew.
Oh my God, it was probably not nearly as good as this.
Probably not.
It was
What was
not
your-
great.
Because we talk about the brewer, their mind state. There's energy in that kava that you're brewing.
100%.
Can you take me to the mindset that you have so I can imagine what it would
Why
taste
am I
like?
making this mud water?
There you go. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This process is so weird because you're putting this kava, the roots, and water in a mesh bag, and then wringing it out by hand.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it took like 45 minutes to make a gallon.
Oh, wow.
These days, like 45 minutes, I'm make like 12 gallons
Yeah, easy.
or more.
Strong.
Yeah, and this drink tastes better and wasn't,
Do you
Yeah.
still brew?
From time to time. Recently I have, and I was doing it regularly, at least once a week, all the way up until like maybe a few months ago.
Huh.
Yeah.
We asked Sean if he still brewed. He said he does, but I haven't seen it with my own eyes. I think it's a ceremonial brew that he does, maybe.
It's supposed
For
to be a
when the
brew
cameras
off, remember?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he'll brew for the brew off. How do you feel about this brew off?
Brew off?
Yeah. So
I'll go to town. Come on.
Oh!
I'd come out of retirement just for
Sean's
that.
already claimed the strongest kava.
Strongest?
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh, man.
There
this is getting
are
interesting.
techniques.
This is getting
There are
interesting.
techniques very unique.
This
to
is
style.
This is getting interesting, dude. Well, welcome, Sean, to the show. But
Yeah.
this
Beat
could be
you? Who taught you?
Oh,
You did.
Okay, all right.
The old way. The old
No. Okay,
Ozzy taught me the real way.
cool.
Just say. Just
Cool.
say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Let's not
There
forget.
are things that Ozzy doesn't even do,
Let's
but they
not forget.
only do in Vanuatu.
Oh.
What's that?
There's things that Ozzy doesn't do, but they only do in Vanuatu, but we do it here too.
Yeah, sure. All right, I'll let
Okay,
you guys
it's all right. It's all right.
But it's a challenge.
You know.
It's a
Challenge accepted.
At least Ken and I are brewing up.
Brewing up. There you go. Hey, you have the
I
kava
would
bar
agree.
step up.
Just the two of them.
Just the two of them.
But strongest isn't always the best.
No, but you
In my
kind of.
opinion.
I agree. I agree.
It's not, but
Taste, effect,
Yeah,
you know.
There's a lot. There's gonna be
Anybody can put a whole bunch of root in there and make it super
Yeah.
strong. But you
Oh,
have
all
to do
this
it the right
talking
way.
about kava.
Yeah, let's
Oh.
drink some.
Shells up. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you
Bula.
for having me.
Bula.
Bula.
So, how do you feel? Like my Barbara Walters on. Do you feel like the kava industry has changed or shifted in a way, positively or negatively?
Oh, there's lots of different things that have shifted in the kava bar industry for sure.
Yeah. Do you
You
see it
know.
in a positive shift? Because I like
100%. I think most of the people out there are serving it, regardless of the fact that this is a business.
Uh-huh.
Is that people want to do it because it's got a benefits. For people, a positive a positive impact, on individuals and community.
Yeah.
That's really the main reason why I was really attracted to it. After I figured out what it was and I really felt what it was, because it was all like a mystery to me. I was like, what is this,
Yeah.
And even drinking it a few times, I was like, I still don't understand what I'm supposed to be feeling.
Yeah.
But on the fifth time, it hit me enough, and I was like, oh shit! I was like, this is something.
Wow.
This is something, And in the first few years, the kinds of people that are brought together. I mean, it was a very wide swath of people. Pretty wide demographic, age-wise. Race-wise. I mean, all sorts of people. But it didn't matter what you did or where you came from. It was a place where anybody can go, get together, and just hang out and talk. And what's surprising is that when I visited Vanuatu in 2006, we'd go in to see, what their kava bars are like, and really it's the same thing. Doesn't matter whether you're garbage man or the president. You go to an Anaka mall and you're equals. You can just, you're just, you're there and you're one-on-one. Everybody's equal.
Well, that's because that's what it's all about, right?
Exactly.
Now, this may be a rumor. You can clear this up. I love conspiracy and rumors. There is a rumor that your trip to Vanuatu almost didn't happen. That you may have won an award at a casino or some sort, and that funded you to go on this trip that ultimately brought kava back to America.
Part of that's true. All right.
Wait, when was this? What year was this? 2001?
When I went to Vanuatu, it was in 2006. Partially, I did win some money in the casino. That definitely contributed to it. But actually, I got into a car accident. A drunk driver hit me. I was out of work, and then I was out of work for 2 months, and I was leaving the kava bar where it was like our nightly ritual to go and get some late night pizza. And on the way back, a drunk driver ended up going the wrong way, crossing through an intersection.
We should have went to the kava.
Oh yeah, he's a drunk driver. I mean, it sucked. A lot of pain, but in the end, the settlements, not only did it help me recover, but I had enough money to use to go to Vanuatu. And I ended up going to Vanuatu with part of that settlement.
So tell me what you can about that trip. I mean, did you have a plan when you went there, when you landed there?
My plan was to follow around Jeff Bowman and do whatever you wanted wherever we were going. We were going, to meet, the person who gathers the kava and exports it to us, and to really kind of understand what the supply chain and what the process was from all the way to the remote islands of Pentecost in Vanuatu, all the way to the capital city, Port Vila, and the whole supply chain. And it was pretty crazy. I mean, when you go out to Pentecost, when we went there, you landed on the grass landing strip. There was no real road around the entire island. There were some roads, but I didn't experience being on any roads. I didn't experience being in a car. There was some electricity in some places, but for the most part, no running water, no electricity, and it's the bush.
And this
It's the
is
bush.
something that
Bamboo
you're
huts and
drinking
everything.
that people do that.
Oh yeah, they were traditionally making it, wringing it out. I mean, it wasn't the chew and spit, the masticated kava. It wasn't that level, but I mean, you are talking about people, pulling the roots right up there, and making it for you. And I mean, the taste of kava straight from the ground is totally different than all of this.
I bet.
Yeah. It really does have this greenish kind of taste to it. So almost.
Is it smoother?
Is it smoother? I would say this is smoother mainly because it's cold.
See, I like it when it's warm. I
Oh.
like it smoother to me when it's warm.
You like warm kava?
The more and more I drink kava, the less and less I can tolerate warm kava.
Yeah, me either.
If I drink like 5 or 6 shells, if the sixth one is warm, it doesn't feel good. I mean, it'll feel great in my body, but it does not feel good going down.
They hit you different when it's warm.
It does.
Oh yeah, it'll hit you faster, for sure.
It's so much different. Now, go ahead.
The first kava bar in North America was in Boca Raton.
Uh-huh.
How did St. Pete get the kava bars that it has now? Like, why St. Paul? How did this?
Jeff Bowman's business partner at the time, Laurent Olivier, he wanted to open one somewhere else, and it ended up being St. Pete. He asked me to be the general manager, and move over here. And at that time, it was like probably about 9 or 10 months after I left the Knock. So I was there 5 years, and I was like, wow, 5, 6 years, and I was like, we're really not growing as a business. I don't know what I'm doing, I feel like stale. I love what I do, and I love the kava, but, for growth, personal growth, I just didn't feel like I was, feeling fulfilled. So I went back to the tech industry, and I was doing internet marketing, and I did that for a little while, and then I was asked to, if I wanted to be the manager over in St. Pete and move over here, and I was like, oh, well, that is the next step, is to go and open a new one and be somewhere else and, to have a different role. And that's exactly what I was looking for, so.
Was it scary?
It was 100% scary because Laurent didn't live here. He lived over on the East Coast, and I was here by myself 98% of the time, 99% of the time, here by myself to make it all happen and to
also,
educate people.
To introduce a product, because there was no competition.
Nobody even knew what it was.
So not only did you have to move to a new city, you had to introduce a product that no one knew about.
How did you do it?
Tasted like
Do you have
dirt.
anything do you remember anything specific that you did to try to get the community interested?
We did a lot of things. I am, for all the people that at least came through the door and wondering, what is this? It was, if I got people in, it was, I could already educate people and tell people and, enthrall them about its social benefits, its cultural heritage and things like that. People were like, oh, at least I got to try it. It was an experience. So at least I can sell the experience, getting people to come back over and over. That was, really be like, trying to create the community, around actually drinking kava, like the camaraderie, But once people started drinking it, it really wasn't that hard. It just took a while to get enough people to really get the ball going, I think it was like a good 2 or 3 years before Bula, really was like rolling well. I mean, we had great staff. So Sean was one of my first regulars. He was one of my staff members. He tried for a really long time to get a job, and I was like, no. He's like, you got your own thing, He's like, I still need customers. I need regulars, I can't employ them all.
I would imagine the hardest part was just getting people in the door.
The hardest part was getting, we did kava, Sean came with me, we did like kava ceremonies in the park over in Straw Park. We had a guy that was doing like chalk art on the sidewalks. So he would put Bula Cafe and all this stuff like all over the sidewalks in different places. That helped a little bit. The news helped a lot because it was controversial, and we were right across the street from St. Pete High. So like, oh my God, these high school kids drinking this stuff, and I was like, nah. Not the first time I've given it to a high school kid, but they don't have the money for it, and they're like, they're like, what is this stuff anyway?
It's just maybe controversial, but wouldn't you rather your teenagers discover kava than alcohol?
Oh, I agree, but the thing is that high school kids didn't want to really drink that because it's cooler to drink alcohol.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, imagine. You're in high school. It's not cool to drink kava. It's different, and you can do it legally, but it wasn't that cool. We did get plenty of people that after they graduated, they're like, oh, it was across the street from my high school. Went in there a few times, and then after they graduated and they're going to college, they would come by. A lot of people that I know. Some of them are still in the kava bar industry, or hanging out at kava bars now. That was 2009, 14 years ago. A bunch of them.
I think a lot of times too, when kava bars have other items that they offer. Like, for instance, the first time I came here, I had never even heard of kava, but I was downtown and I needed a coffee, and I came here.
Well, back in in those days, it really was almost just kava.
Yeah.
Just kava. We had smoothies. You know, they weren't great. There was this weird, you know, like it was kind of like prepackaged stuff. But you know, it was at least that. But for the most part, it was 90% kava and kava related products.
That is very cool. I love it.
It took a while. You know, I really pushed Laurent. I was like, we need to have coffee or something. You know, we got to get people into the door. Because once you get them into the door, it's a lot easier to, you know, introduce them. You know, even if it's a slow process, you know, but they'll keep coming back for the coffee.
Yeah.
And Bula, I'm pretty sure, was the first kava bar to offer, you know, a full espresso bar. And now it's
mandatory.
It's very common. It's not everybody, but there are a lot of very successful, you know, kava bars. Obviously, you know,
Now,
including
do you
GrassRoots.
think that, I know you're humble, but do you think that you are kind of like the, I know I'm gonna say it, the Kanye of kava, meaning the trailblazer? I think you are. Do you feel like you are from where the kava industry is now? Do you feel like you're the lead force in front of it? Because all the early advocates, there's so many Ken stories. Everyone has a Ken story, and it's all education about the products. It's it's a lot of humor, but everyone has a Ken story, and you've touched so many people's lives and educated so many people. Do you feel that weight on your shoulders nowadays?
I mean, wouldn't
That was a lot
call
of
I know.
I wouldn't call any of it a weight.
Something like that. Choose everyone.
It's not really a weight. It's not like a burden or anything. I mean, anytime really anybody brings it up, my number one thing is like I have to like thank all the people who believed in it to begin with. I mean, if people didn't believe whatever I was selling, you know, none of it would have mattered. You know, like, and I believed in it. I loved it. You know, and I think that showed. But you know, it really touched a lot of people, and those people really were the best advocates, you know, for it all. And without those people, I mean, nothing that I did would matter.
Yeah,
But for sure, I was around, and I still, even then, you know, I give it up to the person who introduced me to it all, because the way I go about it and the way I've introduced it to people is how it was introduced to me. I mean, surely there's some things that, you know, of my own personality that I've added to it in my way and how I've done it for years, but it really did start with Jeff Bowman and the way he, you know, introduced it. I mean, it was all about here's the experience. Yeah.
Let's
Jeff
cheers to
Jeff Bowman.
Hey, Jeff Bowman, wherever you are, we will come to you. Wherever you are, we'll bring Sean with
We can make it happen. I'm sure we can make it happen.
We gotta find the person to make a road trip.
Let's do it.
Cheers to Jeff Bowman.
Here's Jeff
Bula.
Bowman.
Bula.
Now, how long have
I'm just gonna pop it real quick. I just wanted to say that I don't say many nice things about Ken.
No.
All right.
But
This
Ken
is interesting.
is being very modest right now. Because if it wasn't for this man, I wouldn't have discovered kava. I would never have opened up Low Tide. He is the guy that taught me everything I do to get. He did teach me everything I do know about kava. Wow. And now we have how many bars?
I mean,
It's
Too
because,
many to
we
count.
lost count.
it's because of the hustle that this man did. I witnessed it myself. He is the chief of Pinellas County.
Yeah.
On this whole side, I got to give Jeff Bowman, he's the real chief. But Ken is the chief of this side of Florida.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree.
He's second in line. He pioneered what we have right now. So I just wanted to throw that out.
And that's echoed from so many people's mouths. I'm telling you, this is what I mean. Like
Too much.
Epic interview. It's
Now it's becoming a weight, man.
Yeah,
It's
now
becoming
it's a
a weight.
weight. Now you
The
feel it's a weight.
expectations are high.
On our trip, all we had to do was say we're from St. Pete, and they treated us like royalty. Like, oh, you guys know kava.
Yeah.
We don't need to explain this
Yeah.
to you.
Oh, you guys visiting? We're from
Do
Florida.
you
Oh,
think
yeah,
that's
we know
because of like when Bula started, just how big it got? Like, why is St. Pete?
Well,
Is it
it's
just,
actually,
I mean, everybody's as cool as us and loves kava.
you know, Bula is what is obviously extremely important, but what made all of this really blow up was the fact that Low Tide and Mad Hatter opened at the same time with Bula being open, and it really spread things out. And people started to be like, well, this is not just a fad anymore. You know, this is an actual legitimate business, you know, and along with it being a legitimate business is that more people are introduced to it. And it really, I mean, within a year, I believe, from Low Tide opening up, there were 7 kava bars, because when Low Tide opened up, a year after that, Bula on the Beach opened up. So in that time, there ended up being, you know, from 1, you know, to being 7 in the span of about a year.
That's a very rapid increase.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because of the profit margins? Why could something that, and it doesn't work everywhere. I've been in New York and had to travel a good distance for a kava bar, and it's so many people there, or Arizona where 20 minutes each between each kava bar. Here it's like I can walk to a kava bar from here or any other kava bar.
It did take quite a while. I mean, you know, here it's been 14 years. So from 2014. So for 8 years since 9 years since Low Tide. Now there's like a million, which is great, but still, it really took a long time. You go to South Florida, you know, there are a lot, but it's not nearly as dense as it is here. St. Pete, I think, is just, you know, super special.
It is.
You know, it really, like, the city and the people just already have that vibe, so it's very much, like, fits in.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that really the more and more people are introduced to it, I think that eventually, you know, it's going to have, like, a vibe, like, everybody's got to go to Starbucks, everybody's got to go get the
So
coffee.
I mean, if we spread the word, like maybe through a podcast to tell people about kava.
I think we can work that out. Do you think that what makes a successful kava bar versus one that fails? We talk about a lot the person behind the bar making the kava bar. Is there one thing that you would say that will make or break a good kava bar?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you go to any, you know, kava bar where there's a ton of people there.
Yeah.
You can tell it has an atmosphere, it has an experience, and it has its vibe, you know? I mean, our vibe compared to Low Tide's vibe is just slightly different, but you can tell, like, it's a tight community.
Yes, it is.
You know?
Well, that's what it's supposed to be about. When you sit down with people drinking kava, you know, like you're supposed to be spending time together and being a family.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to do with the kava at all. I mean, the kava is important, you know, but I've been to, you know, not to knock on anybody else's business, you know, like I've gone to places where I was like, I don't really like their kava, but their vibe and the whole setup was awesome, and I loved it. And I was like, oh, I would go back to it. I mean, if I didn't know anything else, I mean, I would think that was a great kava bar.
True.
I mean, you know, I've got so much years of experience, and like, yeah, I'm a little bit of a snob, but at the same time, like, for like the kava itself, but for the vibe, I mean, you know, when the vibe is good, the vibe is good. That's it.
You can't,
you know, you can't deny that. That's what makes everything successful is the vibe.
So how'd you come into this place? By the way, how long has GrassRoots been open?
We opened beginning of 2017.
Wow.
So yeah, we are moving towards our 7th year. We have 3 locations now. Yeah, 3 locations here downtown St. Pete's, Ybor, and Seminole Heights in the northern end of Tampa.
Yeah. I love it. I love this one is my favorite decor, but Ybor, they picked a perfect spot in Ybor, kind of like off the.
It's an oasis
Yeah.
in Ybor City.
Yep.
It's pretty dope.
I haven't been there yet. They haven't seen
Oh,
it.
we'll have to bring
We'll
you.
go. We'll have to
Bright
take a
and
trip.
white.
Yeah, you can't
Bright
miss it.
and white.
It is.
Y'all have a-
Very clean.
I have a question. When you're done with your
Oh, no, go ahead. Son. Why wait? Why wait?
I was just wondering if you could tell us more about your trip or trips. You've gone multiple times to Vanuatu.
I've only been there once, and I think about it a lot. I mean, I've got a tattoo of Vanuatu. But yeah, I was only there once. I mean, it was super impactful. I'm sure that if I
I
had
would
more
say so.
money, I would go often, but I mean, you know, it is close to 10,000 miles away and quite an adventure to get to. I spent about a month there.
Oh wow.
And a lot of it was waiting around to meet up with people and go do things.
Yeah.
So in that waiting time, because you know, island time. When you say now, like they do, like it will happen. But when, you know,
Kind of like Lawrence.
I mean, island time. I'm on permanent island time.
I mean, you know, their concept of needing things now. I mean, it's just not, you know, they're not westernized. That's why, you know, the kava bar industry is one of the things that we realized out there. Was interesting because, you know, when you're like, we need this much kava now, and they're like, okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
But their idea when we said now, I mean, like we, you know, as Americans, we need yesterday.
We need
You know, like I got the money.
Yeah.
Do you already have it? You know, right?
Yeah.
For them, we're like, yeah, we'll get it. It's growing. It's happening. We're doing it right
ready
now.
Exactly.
It's going to be growing. You know, and there it is. So it's, you know, the experiencing like what the supply chain was pretty surreal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a very remote island. People are living in villages. There's no like roads, so when they travel from village to village, they're walking on a trail, barefoot, sometimes in the dark with no lights. I don't know how they did it, but I know a lot of them
So
do
we
it.
can sip this right here.
And they would carry a 50-pound sack of kava on their back and bring it from one village to another where it was being gathered. And then from that gathering point, it would get on a boat, it would go to another place to be processed, and then for the place that's processed on another island, it goes to the capital city and gets packed on the plane or on a boat and then shipped to us. So, I mean,
Does anybody know how they discovered kava?
there are a lot of different stories. I mean, like folklore stories of how they discovered kava.
What's your favorite one?
What's my favorite one? All right, hold on. Let's drink some kava. I'm gonna paraphrase it, you know, and I know it's not gonna be completely right, and I'm gonna embellish it, but it's the same spirit. Bula.
It's so good.
Ooh, I finished mine. I got rid of that.
This is so good. You finished
I
yours?
usually just sip it, and this time I chugged it. I
Good.
didn't
Look at you.
Well, one of the folk stories for kava originates in Vanuatu over 3,000 years ago, and there were these two sisters, and the sisters were out foraging for food. One of the sisters was, you know, off in the jungle and not too far away. Her sister was over by the river and she was gathering stuff. And the sister by the river all of a sudden screams, you know, and her other sister comes out of the jungle. She's like, what's going on, sister? And she's like, oh my God, you know, this plant, you know, just shot up out of the ground. It's, you know, shot up into her vagina. And she's like, oh my God, I'm serious. This is the story. I did not make
Is
this
that
up.
part of the paraphrasing? That's what like.
It went into her vagina, and she's like, "Oh my God, this plant is giving me such great pleasure." And like the sister was like, "What?" And they were like, "Oh, hey, this plant looks like the plants that the men gather. You know, like they find, you know, wild in the forest, you know, in the jungle, and they're like, oh, it looks like their sacred plant, you know." And they're like, this plant is something that was only for men, so it's already taboo for a woman to do anything with it. But the sisters decided, we're going to sneak this plant home, we're going to care for it in our garden, and when the time is right,
They are. It gives them great pleasure.
I mean, exactly, they're like, this is shit, you know, but... So they, you know, they let it grow, and then some time came by, and then, you know, when it was ready, the sisters, like, went to the chief and was like, hey, you know, we have been caring for this plant. We found it in the jungle. We think it's very special. And the chief was like, you are a woman and you don't know shit. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. No. Like, leave me alone. But the sisters, they insisted. They're, you know, kept on nagging. And then the chief was like, all right, nagging. Fuck this. And I'm going to prove to you that you don't know what you're talking about. You know, and he summoned, you know, the kava maker, and they came, and, you know, he made the kava and all that, you know, gives it to the chief, and the chief drinks it, and was like, all right, you know, cool. But the more and more he drinks it, he goes like, oh shit, this is like the best stuff ever. This is so sacred. This is better than anything we'll ever find in the jungle. And so he declared like he wants all the kava to come from this one plant and to keep using this plant to make all their kava. And they're like, everything else in the jungle, forget about. This is the one plant. And what's unique about kava today is that kava is something that is single sex. It's a female plant. There's no male counterparts to it. And when you propagate it, you take the cuttings, you pull it up out of the ground, you take the stems, you cut it up, throw it back into the ground. It'll reroot and it'll grow into a new plant.
Gift that keeps on giving.
So for here, well, technically no.
Okay.
We're not hot enough. I mean, it's not even hot enough that we get too cold.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha. We get too cold.
Go figure. Go figure. Would you grow?
But also the soil here sucks. I mean, it's sand. It's not volcanic. And rich like the islands.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
So,
Go ahead.
I interrupted. Sorry.
It's all right.
Finish the topic.
So I mean, they decided that this is the one plant where all the kava comes from, and because it's a single sex plant, that the origins of this one plant, the original cutting came from the one that the two sisters found way back in
So
the
it
day.
just continued.
Well, I mean, over time, over location, the plant itself has changed and mutated.
Yeah.
So, when the islanders were going from island to island, discovering, different islands, the Polynesians, they would bring, very important crops to them, taro, they would bring chickens and pigs or whatever they wanted, to bring with them in order to live on this new island wherever they were going on their boats.
Yeah.
And kava was one of those special things that they brought with them everywhere they went. So through trade and through migration, kava is found, from Hawaii, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Vanuatu, all around the South Pacific. There are over 130 some different varieties.
Oh wow.
Like 70 some, I think, come from Vanuatu.
Oh wow.
30 of those are considered like noble or good drinkable kinds.
Huh.
But they're all from the sisters.
They're all from the sisters at some point 3,000 years ago. I mean, Hawaii wasn't even discovered until 600 AD. So that was like 1,400, 1,600 years later it took.
So was the first one mind, body? How did
Body.
it change?
Definitely body.
Well, for them, I mean, the original plant, I mean, ceremonial and spiritually, they use it, to speak to the ancestors, for divine inspiration. And so they would drink kava, go out to the forest, into the jungle, and then wait for the kava to sing to them.
What? I'm doing that tonight.
Kava, I know it's not an American thing. That's why people, really don't truly understand like what the South Pacific Islanders really get, unless you go drink kava in camp. Go out in the middle of nowhere, drink kava in the complete dark, listen to nature, and you will experience kava like nothing you've ever experienced before.
What's your favorite?
My favorite
Type of kava.
My favorite type of kava, I mean, I guess it's kind of all dependent.
Low tide kava.
I mean, low tide kava, grassroots kava, it's basically the same stuff. So, basically. It's handled a little bit differently. That's about the main difference.
Are you a mind, a body?
It depends. I drink body kava after I climb.
Yeah.
Active rock climber. I climb fake rocks, at the gym. And that's basically where I get my fitness these days.
So I was stalking your Instagram page, and I noticed that you were an avid rock climber, and you use kava a lot. Now, the interaction with kava and sports, in particular mountain climbing, does it help? How does that interact? Are they perfect marriage?
Kava works with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say in moderation for sure, kava is great. As an alternative to alcohol. I mean, alcohol is full of sugars. If anybody who's a real athlete and really wants to excel and perform and like be physically fit, alcohol is a deterrent no matter what. Kava, obviously, if you drink too much, it's diuretic, yada, yada, yada. It's not the worst for sure. And that's probably the worst part is that it'll make you go to the bathroom a lot, and you're doing fitness. You're like, well, you're going to have to drink a lot more water and make sure you keep all your nutrients because you're going to the bathroom, which is, that's the worst thing that happens. It's not any extra sugars. Kava helps for recovery, muscle recovery if you drink the body kava. If you drink a little bit of kava before a competition, or before you want to perform hard and also have to use your, think a lot, especially in rock climbing, you're going to have to, think about, I need to move here and I need to move this way, in being calm and centered. Kava for sure helps, 100%.
You're a pretty good climber?
I'm a decent climber.
I'm a decent climber.
6 years.
6 years?
Vertical Ventures. Yeah.
So 6 years. Originally, they thought it was a good idea to put 2 shells on the top of a mountain, or a wall. And if I could make it up there, then I was worthy of a Ken interview. Do you think that I could make it up on walls?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the beginner one.
The beginner one? So I see some of them that say 40, 30. What does that mean? Is that the angle of
it's the angle, yeah. Uh-huh.
Some of these pictures have no rope too.
Oh yeah, well, there's bouldering, which is low, maybe 20 feet tall, 15 feet tall. Okay. And when you're done, you just basically climb down and you jump down, and then you jump on pads. So there's not so much worry about getting injured, even though
just a little bit of worry.
There is for sure. That is the most dangerous climbing sport that part that I get into.
Do you have any mountains you want to tackle? Say any
I'm just trying to see how hard I can climb. I mean, how strong I can be.
Yeah.
Do you climb indoor and outdoor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You sound like an expert.
Well, I'm just thinking, there's probably some people who don't climb outside.
Yeah. There's some people who don't climb outside, and some people who never climb indoors. I mean, if I lived in Colorado or somewhere where there's mountains, I discovered it, I probably would never go to the gym because what do I need to go to the gym for? There's climbing everywhere.
There's this awesome rock butte type of mountain in Arizona, right outside of Kava Sutra.
Yeah. Shout out to KavaSpills.
Right, and it looks so cool. You would have a blast on that.
I bet people climb it. I bet people climb it all the time.
It has a T on there from Temple, or Tempe, whatever. So, when's the earliest you've drunk kava before?
When's the earliest?
Yep.
In the morning?
In the day.
In the daytime. I mean...
No, in the 20, just a normal day. What's the earliest? Doesn't have to be morning if that wasn't the earliest.
I mean, on Sundays I open here, I get here, 6 o'clock in the morning, I drink 6 o'clock in the morning.
Why not?
What do I do? I'm like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's time to drink a shell,
He thought I was crazy.
No.
Not really.
Really, Kava bars, when the Knockball first opened, 2002, we didn't open until 4 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
Kava is an evening thing. It's so American and so Florida to be we're going to open up early. People and even now I think about it, why am I drinking kava at 6 o'clock in the morning? Do I really need this? I'm like, no, it's okay. It's It's kava. I'm going to drink coffee too.
Exactly.
Because I drink coffee at 10 o'clock at night, does that make me any different?
Exactly.
No, it's the same thing for me.
But to me, it does have that effect in the morning. It does help me wake up.
Really?
It helps get my brain going and focusing on things.
If I drink the Mayan kava, for sure.
Yeah.
But I do it because I'm here to have fun, and I get to do this for a living, and this is how I'm doing it. I mean, it's really the number one reason why I wanted to open my own kava bar, so I can just do this for the rest of my life and not pay for it, which is cool too, and I mean, we all have to do something to make a living, and I'm lucky enough that, one of my passions is where I get to make a living from, and so super grateful. I mean, it was a long haul.
Paid your dues.
Long haul.
Paid your dues. One thing I'll take this one slow. One thing I've noticed.
Be here.
No, it's fine. She's got one loaded up right now. So, wait, you want to take mine? All right. I've noticed your branding and merch is crazy here. I mean, you sell everything, hats, Kava kits. Do you feel like you're still, after this many years, I feel like in the front of what's happening, you know? Because I don't see merchandise everywhere. But every time I come into GrassRoots, I see something innovative, something new. You have a phone booth. We'll show footage of it. That looks like a phone booth. It's actually,
phone booth, yeah.
It's actually the entrance to your upstairs. So this place pays attention to every single detail. I mean, first of all, gorgeous place. And who helped with this? Was this a collection of minds? Whose brand is this?
I'll tell you that none of the way this place looks, except for the map on the wall downstairs and the Vanuatu and what is Kava and what is Bula, is the only contribution I have
The
to
culture.
the way this place looks. All the rest are my business partners and their wives.
Yeah. I can see
I
it's
have
a women's
nothing.
touch.
Gravy, Sean Suits, Ryan Kavanaugh, Sarah Suits, Eric Kavanaugh. Those guys are all like, behind the way this place looks. I basically had zero to do with any of it. I'm like, this is cool. Like,
It's
you
dope.
guys are the strength of my weakness, because I'd be like, it would be a tiki hut still, I wanted to make a more upscale kava bar for sure, but I did not envision what we're doing today. I came to the table with knowledge, experience, the community backing, things like that. So, I mean, Gravy's, old banking guy. He came from banking industry.
Oh, you have all the things you need.
Exactly. For sure. I mean, this is the reason why GrassRoots, I think, as a company, as a business, is as successful as it is. That it also comes down to our merchandise. We always wanted to do T-shirts, but we went from doing T-shirts to sweatshirts to hats, and I mean,
So, we should get some. We're gonna get some GrassRoots stuff. Everybody, want to do a bet for one? Want to do like a bet?
Oh, yeah, I do.
What?
I do.
I don't like
I
when you
have a
said
question.
that.
I have
when
a
you said
question,
that.
and we're going to ask Ken.
All right.
Depending on what he says, is the winner. So,
Winner has to buy merch.
yes, you know what the question is
The
that I'm
winner-
going to ask. And I
I know
ask
too.
everybody.
The winner has to buy the loser merch.
Yeah.
All right. Wait. The loser has to buy the winner merch.
Yes,
All right. Go ahead, ask.
So, do you think his Kava commandment is going to be the same as everybody's, or is it going to be different?
I really, if he agrees on our Kava commandments.
Well, I don't tell that one.
All right, ask. I don't know where this question's going, but
I
I'm
don't know how
curious
we're going to know
myself.
who wins, but
Sloan's gonna find a way to win anyway. So
we have Kava commandments. The first one is always keep a stick.
always keep a stick on you. Although I've seen you stir with your finger.
Spill it.
Now, also, Sean, I've seen stir. What is that? Does that just mean like I
Is
know?
that the Vanuatu way?
Yeah.
No, because they just chug it.
I mean, in Vanuatu, usually they serve it and they just chug it.
Yeah.
But Jeff Bowman, he would always be the one stirring his kava, and then I was like, I saw it and I was like, well, why do we use? Because before it was not, it was not wooden stir sticks. I mean, it was all like plastic this, plastic that. And I was like, we should not be using this. I don't need to use this. And then I was like, I don't even need to use a straw. I don't use straws. I don't use,
Chopsticks are really good. We've used those.
Oh yeah, I love chopsticks. But that's really basically where I started doing it. I mean, that's years.
Well, that's the first one, always have a stick. The second one is if the place you're buying kava also sells gas, you probably should not buy kava there.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Great something to live by.
And then number 3, I won't tell you, but we would like to know if you have a commandment, a kava commandment, anything about kava that you think is important to follow.
Eat food.
Before, during, or after?
It doesn't matter. I mean, at some point, because kava's appetite suppressant, you can go a long time and you forget, like, you're drinking kava in the morning, and then you go for a while and you're like, why am I feeling really muddy? What is going on? I'm feeling a little slow. Like, oh, fuck. I didn't eat. There's nothing in my stomach. I mean, really, you're going to get obviously most effects on an empty stomach, just like everything.
Blank canvas.
But too much kava and empty stomach doesn't make me feel good.
Do you have a suggestion for someone who has reached Muddyville too soon, maybe not want to be as muddy? Is there like a eject button or like eat this or drink that and that will bring you back a little bit?
You could have something spicy.
I've heard that a lot.
And
Spicy
so that adrenaline, from the spicy, like gonna give you a
spike
boost.
you up.
Or you can just go be active, run away from it, like physically. Like usually, when I'm like
Don't go
work.
up my vagina.
Whoa! Sound bite. I know what clip we're going to use for the promo.
Love with it.
But when you're working and you're drinking a lot of kava because that's a part of your job, part of your duties to facilitate kava drinking, you end up drinking a lot of kava. And people are like, how do you drink so much? And I'm like, well, I'm always constantly moving around. Once I stop moving around, and then it hits me, and I'm like, I gotta do something to wake me up. Either eat or have something spicy or something. I'm gonna crash pretty hard.
Number 3 kava commandment is the person making the kava has to put love and respect into it.
Which leads me to my next
And
question.
mindset.
Can a person that doesn't drink kava make good kava? Yes or no? So,
Yes, 100%.
Oh, so
They've
a
got
person doesn't have to
plenty of people.
partake in it
No.
to make it.
If you make it with positive intention, it doesn't matter whether you consume or not. I don't drink a lot of kratom, and for a long time I would make kratom and I would not drink it at all. I would drink it to make sure that it tasted right and think, but it's still the
You
same.
didn't have any
It's still the
passion.
same. It's still the same.
Concept,
idea and like. You got to put love in it. You got to put positivity in it. You get, what you put into it. If you're not having a good day, then whatever you're making ain't going to be so great.
Well, then the person, if they don't drink it, they have to respect it still, right?
But yes,
Because-
100%.
You're curving the answer to what I know you're doing.
Well, if they don't respect it, then they're not going to. It's not going to come out good. He
Nope,
was just
I agree.
explaining how.
I agree.
You're
respect
right.
it.
You're right.
I mean, you're gonna
They don't give a
if
shit about
if
it.
someone
It's not gonna-
who loves it so much makes it, obviously they're gonna put all their heart into it because they're gonna end up drinking it.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, oh, this is good or not.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go out there and disappoint themselves. Luckily, like as a business, like the people respect and love what they do, and they still put the love and the effort into it, even though they may not partake in it, because they get immediate feedback, like, oh, your kava's great, and you're like, oh, that's perfect, I did a good job, so at least, those people, they get immediate feedback from all of them.
Exactly.
I do know people, I've had people work here, like, not their favorite thing, but they'll drink it every once in a while, but it's still not their favorite thing.
Exactly. Now, I remember you talking about the ownership here, the diversity of backgrounds of ownership kind of parallels the diversity in customers at a kava bar, age-wise,
Oh, yeah.
demographic. You could even say, like, rappers could be in kava bars. Have you heard any kava mentioned in rap songs or any music like that? And
I know for sure at some points, yes, kava, kratom, all been used in rap. I know, pretty sure I've even heard it in reggae songs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I got this. What if I were to tell you there is an album out called Kava Chronicles, where there is 8 songs on there, all talking about kava, and it's from a rapper in St. Pete. That can happen right now. You know what? I'll pull that up.
That is not where I thought you were going.
The album's called Kava Chronicles Volume 1. It's streaming now on iTunes and Spotify. Go check it out.
Volume 2 coming soon.
Volume 2 coming soon. So,
In the name of the artist.
LB2. I mean, I can introduce you to him if you want. We'll put his like graphics right here. We'll have Sean do a nice little presentation at this point right now. So yeah, I made an album about Kava. I felt like, I listen to a lot of hip hop and I hear about, they talk about alcohol and weed.
Exactly.
I'm like, I sip Kava. No one's talking about Kava. So I made an album about it, and it's actually bringing awareness to it because first off, people say, what's Kava? And two, it's something that they recognize too. So, yeah.
And even if you don't like Kava, the music is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
vibey.
It's not it's easy listening rap.
What the hell is that?
You have to listen to it.
I'm definitely gonna listen to it. I know I've heard some Polynesian rappers talk about Kava. Yeah.
Easy listening? Don't want to be in the easy listening
Not like
section.
Mike Jones or something.
I know, but
I
like,
say we do our last show.
All right.
and
Lauren
say
So-
does
that.
have one question.
you know how I feel.
Okay.
I do. I wanted to save it for last.
Okay, all right.
Do you think Drake makes better music with the cornrows or without the cornrows? Because it's obvious different when he has the cornrows in.
It's a little too philosophical for me. I mean, it just kind of depends on what mood you're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling hard, and sometimes we're not. So it just depends. Do we need to roll hard?
Do we need to roll hard or do we need to not? I like that.
We're gonna lay back or we're gonna roll hard?
Lay back and roll hard. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you so much for doing this and finally sitting down with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for setting this up. Sean was here at the crack of dawn setting this up. Yeah. Thank you,
Time
Time Co Productions, for providing what the most valuable thing is this time. And we're going to episode 16 out.
Bula.
Bula.
Calling me back, I'm rolling up the map, counting up the stacks, so baby, slowing down on the shot, so to throw it back, rolling down the track, oh baby, I've been sipping Kava, I've been spilling Kava.
Oh, we didn't talk about our shoes. You still rolling?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, still rolling?
All right.
We can get
Will
it.
we edit it back?
Oh, of course. She's in the
Shoes.
I don't want to put mine in there too much.
So before we go anywhere, let's talk about the shoe game. What do we got on the feet today?
Oh, these.
Yeah, we gotta show them to the camera.
We
gotta find a way to do it. This is gonna be interesting. Just put. I don't know how you're gonna do this. Just take the shoe off. There we go.
Here we are. I have my Marties.
You got a little Marty on. You got like a Kava color. I see you look a little taller today.
Yes. The most comfortable shoes in the world.
Best wedges, there are no others.
We got some little fossil ones here, and we're actually gonna take a shell out of them.
No, you're not.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You're
Bula.
so weird.
Bula.
Bula.
You're so weird. You forgot to sniff it first, Lawrence.
You're sweet.
Oh, it's so
No, the fossils.
gross.
Show the camera. Show the camera.
It's so bad.
Oh, we'll do it again. For
No,
you.
Lawrence.
Here, the camera caught that for you.
I would like to point out that Lawrence smells and is not afraid to eat anything gross,
Can you see that?
but he never gets sick. Ever.
That's why. He's not afraid of anything.
Ah.
Oh my God. Don't put it. Don't spill back.
Out here on my grind, stay up off my line, side to side, got this function vibing, yeah, I'm doing fine, free to slime, cop controlling all the time, cross my T's and count my dimes, if it ain't about a bag, please don't waste my fucking time, yeah, if it ain't about a bag,